So welcome to week one, day one. Very pleased you got this far. I'm hoping you've seen the introduction videos on the previous pages of the bootcamp. If you haven't, please do watch those, just because it gives you an overall setting and explanation of how the bootcamp will work, and most importantly, what of course you're going to achieve in terms of launching a funnel, knowing how to do online courses, membership areas, websites, all that kind of stuff you're going to know within the process of following through the bootcamp. So if you've not watched those introduction videos, please take a step back, put the kettle on and have a quick look at those videos. But now we're into week one, day one, and just on this day, just a quick explanation of how this video will work. And it'll be the same on all of these videos. So what I'm going to do, as you can see on the screen here, we've got the page on the bootcamp, which has got all the text and images on the screen here. And what I'm going to do on this video is actually walk through this page with you. So rather than having a disjointed video and content, the content on the web page and the download of the PDF that's available via the button top of the page and this video will all be joined up. So whether you're a reader or a listener or a watcher or a combination of all the above, then they will all tie in and we will go through step at a time. So that's how it's going to work. So quite an informal video and very much a doing video. So if you don't understand any particular step, if you're going through on the screen content, you can refer back to the video at any point and see what I actually did on the screen, and hopefully that will then make more sense. The video also allows me to do a narrative, so rather than just the words on the screen, I'm not going to read those out, that would be dreadfully dull and boring. I'll talk through it so we can add any more information as we go within the video itself. Okay, so that's how it's going to work. So without further ado, I'll put on my specs so I can see what I'm talking about, and we'll go through the page. So at this point, what will you have done? Well, by now, if you've gone through the previous videos, you will have created a T4S.site account, or you may have already have had one. If it was a new account, you would have followed through with the instructions to create your first funnel, give it a name and a path or URL, and you would have created a blank page, and that's what you'll be looking at. If you're already a member of T4S.site, hello, first of all, and you will have probably existing funnels. So on the previous videos, you would have created a brand new funnel with a brand new blank page. So we're all at the same point and we're all at the same step in our brand new funnel. So this day is going to be a walkthrough. I'm not going to go into necessarily all of the extra options. I'm not going to explain how things work. What I want you to do is achieve the creation of what is the most common funnel out there, which is what we call the two-step funnel. It's a landing page, it's a selling page, it's a buy this page, and then a thank you page. Typically to what we'd call a warm audience, where they know what you're going to buy because you don't need the explanations. You're just selling and thank you to sell. Other options which we'll cover throughout the bootcamp are maybe a longer funnel, where maybe you may have an initial landing page with an email marketing list email opt-in, such as MailChimp or ActiveCampaign or something. We may do tripwire pages. We'll do all sorts of wonderful stuff, and we're going to get to that in due course. But today is about just going through, doing what I do, taking it all in, and then if you want to throw it all away, start again, and then just play. That's the best way to learn. You can't break anything. So, you get something wrong, you redo it. But we'll go through showing you what I'm doing, follow along, and you'll be amazed actually by doing that how much you'll be sucking into your brain and how much you'll learn just by getting your hands on the keyboard and going ahead with it. All right, so where are we at? I'll scroll down this page, and at this point here, you'll be looking at a screen with a funnel. It won't be called My Widget Funnel unless you happen to call that yours, and you'll have a blank page. So let me flip over and show you that's exactly what I've got. For demonstration purposes, I am going to use this account throughout, so we can follow through as we progress through the bootcamp, constantly adding to it and playing around with other funnels or other pages and so on. So you'll call your funnel whatever it is. Mine's called Consultancy Funnel, and just as an example, I'm going to be selling the ability to buy an hour or more of my time to do one-on-one consultancy and do whatever we do on that, whether it's building or talking or strategizing or whatever it is we might do. So that's what your funnel will look like with a blank page. So I'm going to flick between these two windows a lot just so we can follow through the text. Okay, Point to note, whenever I do a little tip, it's just an optional extra thing, just to bear in mind, something which isn't critical, it's just good advice I'd like to make sure we get into the bootcamp so that you're aware of it. So the first thing we're going to do is rename our page, because blank page is not particularly great, so I'm going to call it something suitable. In the text here I recommend calling it welcome. You can call it whatever you want. So I'm going to click on here, it turns green. I can highlight all of that and type in welcome, and the tip I referred to is if you press tab, it goes straight across to the path, and we can type in something like welcome there as well. Give that. Okay, on that point, the path or URL here is what gets tagged on to your website. So here, because I created a funnel called consult as the path of the website, my funnel is available at t4s.site/consult. And if I just type that into the browser, the first page of that funnel will appear. And you can do that. It will probably change as we go through the bootcamp, so it won't look like it does today, but you can go there and you'll see the first page. So this /welcome is an option. It's an option because it's the first page in the funnel. As we add more pages and we have /thank you /whatever it is we're doing, you could go to t4s.site/consult/ and then whatever that path or URL is for that page. You can have your custom domain name, www.simongoodchild.com /whatever. You can have that. We're covering that in the bootcamp, the ability to have your custom domain names. That's coming, but for now we're just going to use the out of the box t4s.site domain name and get going from there. So that's how that path works. We created it. Now what we're going to do is go along and edit it. The tip there is you can rename it at any point by clicking and rename and so on. So it's not stuck in stone. Right, we're now going to go ahead and edit the page, this bit here. So we click on edit there, and it opens up the editor. You will get this once. It's up to you whether you watch me. I'm going to close me because we're going to crack on with our page. And this is what the editor looks like for a blank page every time. Back to our page. Right. Columns. Okay. So this is the first thing we're going to do. We want to put stuff on the page, and the stuff like text, images, opt-in forms, whatever it might be, they're called elements. They're page elements. Those elements sit inside a container. So you can move them around, you can style them, you can do all sorts of lovely stuff with the container itself, that inside which you put all your page elements. You can have, as we'll see, multiple containers. We'll come on to that. But as the page sits, we need to add a container. And a container can be arranged in 1, 2 or 3 columns across the screen. Very handily on a mobile phone. If you've got 3 columns, they all drop below each other, so everything looks great on a mobile phone. But for now, this is a walkthrough, so go ahead and click on 1 column. And it will add 1 column. And if I hover my mouse over, you can see that the element that it puts in for me straight away, a text element, is there with a nice blue border. And that's what we're looking at in this image here. Okay? Right. So let's go ahead and change that text. So we click in here, click, and now we can edit. And I'm going to go back to here so we go through together. I'm suggesting putting in here. I'll do that so it matches. You can put in anything that you want. So grab an exclusive hour with the creator of T4S.site. Grab an hour with the creator of T4S.site. And if you've ever written an email or Word or whatever, that's as simple as that. You type away. Back to our page. A couple of things here. First thing is the config bar. Now the config bar, I'm not going to worry about it too much right now, but it pops up down the side of the screen with lots of lovely options that we can change. And we're going to do that in a second. That's called the config bar. And if you're ever editing on the screen, the config bar will appear, allowing you to style things primarily and move them around and change fonts and all that kind of lovely stuff. The second thing is that at the top, for a text element, you can bold, italic, underline, strike through, left, center, right align, full justify, add a hyperlink and an emoji if you so want to. And that's what we're talking about down here. So the config bar and up here. So we're going to do 2 things. First of all, we're going to center the text, and then we're going to use the config bar to change the text color, move it down and change the font. So let's go ahead and do that. Click on the center, boom, go center. Simple as that. Then we're going to move it down a bit so it's not stuck at the top of the screen. We're going to change the font size so it's more of a headline, and we're going to change the font, and I'm just going to choose Oswald. You can add any publicly available Google font, of which there are hundreds if not thousands. We will come to that in the bootcamp. Just follow me along for now and choose something like Oswald. And finally the color. So here's the color picker. You can see what it looks like as I hover around. You can type in your own what are called hex codes up here. That's for later. For now we're just going to pick one, and we'll pick a dark green. Okay, and you end up with what we have here. This tip is quite important. At this point, if I want to just get rid of the config bar and go back to the editor, hit escape, go back to the editor. Okay, take a breath. We're straight in there. You may want to pause the video, stop reading down the page, and just do that. Play around with that. Add as many text elements as you want to it. I'll zip forward a little bit because you can hover over here and click on the plus and just click on paragraph, and you get another text element. And if you keep doing that, you'll get lots. So you can add those, play around with those. You know, pause this video. The video is meant to be a video that you know, rewind, play again, pause, rewind, watch it again. That's absolutely fine. So pause the video and just get comfortable with the text, and if you want to, play around with the options on the config bar. So let me just tidy up that screen. Okay, so whether you did play or you didn't, let's crack on with our document. In fact, there we go. I just just told you that. So that's where you can add more stuff. And again, we will cover all of the page elements that are there. That will come in the bootcamp. Do not worry. You will be a wizard, a T4S.site wizard on all of these things, all of the options in time. For now, just stick to what we're doing today so we can get to the point of creating our sales page. We are going to come on to looking at images and buttons, but not yet. Okay. So what I'm saying here, reading through, after the headline, we want to do a subheading. So we can build, discover, or explore to fast track your expertise. You may well have already played with this. I'll add a paragraph. And let me try and match what we've got. We can build, discover, or explore. We can build, discover, and explore. Fast track your expertise. To fast track your expertise. We do cover copywriting later on in the course. We'll come back to that. But what I want to do here is just get my headlines just to match what we've got here. Because I'm going through this with you, I haven't got one of those prepared in the oven type things. I want to do it exactly like we're doing. So Oswald, text color, red, center. Get that a bit bigger. And get that a bit bigger. In fact, what I ended up with was grab an exclusive hour. This is all about copywriting, which we will cover later on in the course. In the bootcamp, sorry. So highlight that, click on underline. Boom. Grab an exclusive hour of the creator. Too many exclamation marks for my liking. Let's just leave it at that. And I think we're about there. So we've ended up there. Right, tip there. Saving is good. You cannot save often enough. Save. Boom. Up here. That little floppy disk if you're of a certain age. Click on that item to save changes. You cannot save often enough. Because you have, and we will cover this as we go to the more advanced stuff, you can roll back to versions of your page that you've previously saved. So if you make a big mess up, you can just go back to the one you had 10 minutes ago or yesterday or last week. So if you don't save them, you'll have nothing to roll back to. You might come back in a week and not like all of what you've done. You can roll back. You can't do that if you don't save. So save, save, save. Okay. Right. So I've covered about elements. Elements are things that we add to the page, text, images, videos, and so on. And I touched on containers. Containers are things that allow us to group things by. So if I hover over my element, they get a nice blue border. You can see these 4 icons here, which I touch on in the page we're going through. If I hover over the pink icons, you can see there's the container with those two elements inside. You have more than one. You could have a page with just one container. That's absolutely fine, but containers can be used for layout if you want multiple columns, different numbers of columns all the way down the page, and they can be used for styling. More advanced, we'll come on to that in the bootcamp. What we're getting here is a second container with two columns. Why two columns? Because we're going to have an image on the left and some text and a list and a button on the right. So, first of all, let's add a container underneath here. Two ways to do it. One is click on the plus and you can add a column underneath, add a container underneath the current container that you just clicked on, or you can go to the top and it will add a container underneath everything else on the page. So if you've got lots of containers, by going to the top of the page you can put in a container just underneath that current one, or you can just go ahead in this case and just choose two columns. It will, boom, put it on the page. There's our left column, there's our right column. Yep, and these two icons here, edit this container, that's the overall container with everything inside of it. The one beside it just allows you to do things with just the column. Again, we'll come on to that, let's not do too much too soon. So we've got two columns, 1 and 2. Awesome. We're going to add an image to the left hand side. So under here we're going to click on that big plus again and choose image. Boom. It puts a default one in. That's always the same default image, just so you've got an image to do things with. Alright, puts that straight in there. I think we cover that here. Pretty large default image. We're going to change that. That's what we're going to do now. Put your own image in there. Click on the image. The config bar appears. They normally look the same with a design tab, a border tab and a more tab. Some things at the top of the config bar will be specific to what you're doing. So if it's a button, or in this case an image, the options you have here will be specific to it being, in this case, an image. Okay, so we click on change image because that's all we're going to do for now, and it brings up the media manager. Media manager. This is where you put all your images, all your documents, PDFs and all that sort of thing into for access for everything in this funnel. All the pages in your funnel, in this funnel, will have access to the media manager with all of the images and documents therein. You can upload your own images, of course, and we're going to cover all of the image element in detail, but for now, just to stress, follow me through the walkthrough, let's just do what we're doing. So your particular uploading images and what, optimizing them and all of that, we will cover. We'll talk about the best format of images, how to make them fast loading, all that kind of lovely stuff we will cover. For now, let's just use a service called Pixels. So click on search for photos from Pixels. Pexels is provides a lot of free copyrighted images for use by people like you and me. So I can put in here and type in, for example, help, and hit return or click the search icon, and it will go off to Pexels and come back with loads of images. Here we've got 73 with 3 pages. If I put anything here, I can put in, I've not done this, I'm making this up, so we'll see what happens. But you can put anything in there and it will come back with lots of high quality images that you can use. Beach, 8,500. Okay, you will be spoiled for choice if you have anything to do with beaches in your funnel, but I'm going to stick with help just so I'm in line with what we're doing on the document, and this is the image that I chose. It gives you 3 options: landscape, large and medium. Remember, we're going to talk about the best size of images to use. Do not always use the biggest one. We'll cover all of that on images later on, but for now I'm going to choose medium. Sorry, large here, large, and click on get this photo and close my Pexels box, and there it is. That image is now inside my media manager for use in any page in this funnel. So I click on it and click on insert. Boom, lovely, high quality image. Done. Let's catch up with ourselves. There we are, that's what I've just done. Click on insert. My chosen image is now in my page. And you can change that image at any time by, let's just press escape and then click on it again just to start from scratch. Click on change image, away you go. You can change that image to anything else you want, including from Pexels. Right. I'm going to tidy up the right hand column by deleting the text element that's there. You know how, so go ahead and do it. Hint, we covered that early on, did we? Might have skipped over that. Let me quickly show you. I think up here we might have clicked and deleted the text. Oh, here we did, yes. So we're going to get rid of that. So let's just quickly do that. Instead of clicking escape, I can actually click anywhere on the screen. Same thing. I can click on that text element that I do not want, and at the top of the config bar there's always a delete. Do I want to? Yes. Remember, that's why saving is good, because you can roll back if you delete a whole load of stuff. You can have an earlier version. Okay, so let's just make sure we're doing what we're doing. I'm now going to tidy up my right hand column, click on there, delete, boom. And we are here. Right, we're now going to add a text element to the right hand side. I could have actually just edited what was there. Yes, you're absolutely right. If you thought that, I could absolutely have just edited what was there. But never mind. We're going to put in a new text element, which is going to be a key benefit. We're going to do this here. So it's the big one key benefit that we want to do. So, big blue circle, click, and then click. And I'm going to put here the one key benefit. We will talk about benefits and features and all that kind of stuff in the bootcamp, but for now, just put in what your key benefit is to the person who's going to be buying yours. So, key benefit for me, in 1 hour we will build a page and answer your questions. In 1 hour we will build a page and answer your questions. And I think I go ahead and use Oswald again and pop it in there. Okay, and we're here. Commas in a different place. The grammar guys can tell me off, but for now I'm just going to match what we've got on our page. Right, now what I want to do is just mention white space. You can see on this page here, it just doesn't look good. You know, that image is squished up against here. It's all squished together, if that's a technical term. Certainly not a design term, but you know what I mean. It's all not looking good. What I want is put some white space in here and down beside the image and the text. Okay, so what we are going to do, this. We're going to click on the image, and in the config bar adjust the width slider so you have a reasonable amount of space between the image and the text beside it. I'm also going to move it down a little bit so that it lines up with the text nicely. Right, let's do that. Click on the image. Here's the image width as a percent, which is a slider, or I can type in a value here, and I just want to get a bit of white space, something like that. Yeah. And then I want to move it down, so the slider above here, move down, I can move it down to something like that, just so it just looks nicer. That'll do for now. I also want to move this whole container down, this whole container here. Yeah, hover over this pink icon, it's right across the screen with those 2 columns and things inside it. I can move that down. So I could, and I'll actually show you this little tip, I can click and drag here, which is exactly the same as doing that. Just a bit quicker. I could move this down and move that down. Same effect, it's fine actually. But looking at the container, I've introduced a lot of white space, which may not matter. You know, if you're not going to style this container, job done, not a problem at all. But the other way, I just move these both back up to there. Hover over this, edit this container, and click on edit this container. And the options here, slightly less here for a container, but I can move the whole container down instead. There's no right answer. There's no right answer in a lot of these things. It's what you prefer. You could just drag the 2 elements down, perfectly fine. You could drag the whole container down, perfectly fine. It kind of depends where we're going in terms of styling the container as a whole. Let me quickly show you what I mean. You know, we might want to do that, for example. And if we had a load of, if we just drag these down, we would, there's too much space there, which is why I don't want to do it. So let me just put them right back up the top and undo what I've just done. But you can see why there's no right or wrong answer, but there's often a better way of doing things. depending on where you're going. And by the end of this bootcamp, you'll know where you will want to go, so you'll be able to make decisions as you go. But for now, just say again, this is a walkthrough, okay? So let's not try and diverge too much, which I've just done. But that's what we're going to do here. Click on the right hand icon of the following, and then you can move the container down, just as we're saying. So use white space. It's very important. You don't want the visitor's brain to be trying to interpret your page. If content is king, design is queen. That's the fairly naff but often said phrase. So a good design means that the visitor is not going, oh, okay, I wonder why that's red, and why are they dancing monkeys in the middle, all that kind of stuff. We don't want the visitor to think about that. A good design will support the content so that the visitor achieves what you intend them to do, i.e. convert. That's the purpose of a good design. This is where there's a big debate around landing pages and funnels versus websites. They are the same thing. A funnel is a website, or a web page if you like. The purpose of it is to get people to do something, to convert, to buy, to opt in, to do whatever. Whereas a website may be more of an online brochure where people can browse around, but the conversion rates for that sort of design will not be as high as a page which says, I want you to do this and I'm going to do everything I can to make you do this, whether it's buying or opting in or whatever it might be. That's where funnels and landing pages differ from websites. So, purpose of all that rant is that white space is there to make the page easier for the visitor's brain to interpret. They're not thinking about what they've got to do next, because the design is basically leading them and not taking them off script. You know, you want them to go, click. And that's what a good design should do. And that's why we use white space. Okay. Tip here. What am I on about there? What I'm on about there is, let's say we had here, and I just feel that's a little bit spaced out in terms of what we call line height. You know, the text is too much vertically. If I click on here and go to the More tab, and if in doubt, look in the More tab, this line height here, I can adjust the line height. So, you know, I can, that looks a bit better. Maybe a bit of, you know, it was probably like that. Looks like it's 2 lines. That's okay, I can just squeeze that up there nicely. Okay, let's just put that in there. Okay, that's the tip. Right, what am I going to do now? Save. Boom. Because you never know. Right, we're going to have 2 more things. We are going to add a list element, here, and a button. With the list, you add it, same thing, big blue circle, and add a list. And with the list item, we're going to go on to that. So let's add our list item. Click list. And away you go. So what do I put in here? Ask me anything I've yet to fail giving an answer. There's a bold statement. Ask me anything I've yet to fail to give an answer. There's a challenge and a half. We can build pages, talk strategy. We can build pages. We can build pages, talk strategy, and where do I end that off? Unlock whatever step you are at. Unlock whatever step you are at. Focusing on results and doing. Focusing on results and doing. Typo there. I need to go back and fix. There we go. That's for the typos. That would be fixed. You will leave with a wow feeling. You will leave with a wow feeling. Lists. I'm not sure whether it's scientifically proven or not, but it's generally felt that odd numbers of items in lists are preferred by humans to even numbers. Don't ask me to prove that, it's just what we in the industry recognise. I'll leave it to you whether you want to be odd or even, but generally speaking, odd numbers of lists seem to convert better. Go figure. So that's that, and then having done the list, under the list you add a button element, so your page will look something like that. So click anywhere, hover over, and add button. And now I'm just going to just click and drag that down the screen, and just again white space. You can see that looks yuck, whereas that looks better. White space, so important. So it looks like this. Okay, that's cool. So with the button element, I've clicked it and moved it down a bit. I've moved the list element down a bit, blah blah blah. So let's first change the button. Okay, so what I'm going to do is just going to go for an end result that looks like this. If you look on this page, it's not a real button. As it's a T4S page, I'll put the button in there just as a demonstration. So book now for £97. Click on the button. First thing I can do is change the text. Book now for £97. Okay, boom. Down the bottom of this config bar for the buttons here, I can click on this. I can choose my colour and an icon. You know, it could be a red bullet. Whatever you want to do is entirely you. Click on that. Button width, I want to make big enough to accommodate all my bits and pieces. And then styles, I'm going to go up to borders here. And I could play around with the border colours. I can go to the More tab and change the background colour. I can do all of that. Or I can click on Quick Style Gallery and choose A1. You know, so if I wanted a red capsule type one. Entirely up to you. I'll leave it like that. But you know, I could, if I want to, then change the background colour under the More tab here to, you know, maybe a darker green if I wanted to do a darker green, or whatever I choose to do. But let me just leave it at that for now. Also under borders, I like to tick this box, pushed in when clicked. We'll see that in a second, because then the button, basically when you click it, if you've got borders, clicks into the screen, which is just quite a nice bit of feedback for the user. Personal change. This here, by the way, click here to change border style. I don't think I talk about this on the page. If I click on that, it changes it to dotted, sorry, dashed, dotted, doubled, sort of a 3D type effect, and eventually back to where we started. So, you know, you can play around with that should you want to, but I won't. I'll go back to cool blimey. There we go. Okay, back to there. Here's a shadow. I quite like a little shadow. You know, you can do any sort of shadow you want. Offset shadow, bottom shadow, insert shadow, sort of indented one. If you're going to do a, I don't know, having borders and shadows might be a bit too much. It's entirely up to you. It's entirely up to you. I'll leave it a little light shadow because I quite like that. So I think that's our button. I'm not going to, on this walkthrough, go into mobile, because you can do this very easily by switching to mobile and improving it so it looks good. So, you know, that button might be that wide. You know, I want that image to stretch out across the top. I want to, you know, do stuff to make it look, you know, more mobile friendly. You know, it's too big, and so on. But I'm going to come back to that because we talk about mobile design and responsive as part of the bootcamp course. So I'm going to leave this in a bit of a pickle because we are going to go back and fix that so it looks awesome on mobile phones, and the same actually for tablets as well. But we're going to stick to desktop, otherwise we're going to do too much too soon. Probably shouldn't have even gone there. Anyway, mobile responsive designs all coming as part of the bootcamp. Right, tip: don't have too many colours, fonts, or font sizes. If I've got, you know, this, and then I have another, let's pick an orange, and then I have, you know, a button colour which is purple. You know, the visitor's brain's having to work out what the hell's going on. Looks like a, you know, a fashion shop has thrown up all over it. It's just not good. Same with fonts. You know, if I do this and put in permanent marker, and then I put in this and choose courier, you know, it's like, wow. You know, funky, yes, but good for conversion, no, because my brain is going, what the hell, what am I supposed to read, do, click on? We don't want that. Remember, content king, design queen. We want to have everything of a similar font size and font so on and so forth. Let me go back and do all of that. It's just easier to read. I'll even go as far as, you know, the font sizes. There's a lot of font sizes there. So for example, that's font size 53, or font size 27. Yeah, that's just because it's less for the brain. Even, you know, would that look better in Open Sans? You know, because then that's the same there and there. For example, you know, so I've now got 2 fonts. Some would argue that's 1 too many. I've now got 1, 2, 3. You know, black, red, green. You know, this button here could probably match. And in the borders, I can. Oops. Yeah, just to try and reduce the variances of things on the screen for the visitor's brain to comprehend and work out what the hell is going on. I'll leave it at that for now. It doesn't quite match our design, but you know, that's good enough. I think I put some space in the button as well, so on the config bar for the button I can, for example, play. That's your landing page done. I mean, that's a basic, but you know, if you know, I don't know how long we've been going, but not that long, and with what you now know already, you could probably go in and just fiddle around now, because you can do different columns in terms of containers, you can do different text and images and buttons, you can create and lists. You know, that probably, with what you've covered already, is probably 80% of every landing page out there. You know, you can click on the image, borders, let's put a little bottom shadow in there, that looks quite nice. Maybe we could, under borders, we can change the quarter radius, nice little rounding. You know, just play with the config bar, and you can, it's not live, you can click on up here, clear the page, wipe the lot and start again. Just play. It's the best way by far. Anyway, take a breath. That's done. What I'm now challenging you to do is to create a thank you page, which looks like that. Little hint for the video, there's just one container there with a whole bunch of text elements. Boom, 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 boom. That's it. That's my thank you page. We will talk about thank you pages and the fact we do not want dead ends in our funnel, and you know, if you've got a thank you page, you should be doing something else, and we'll talk all about that in terms of building funnels and all of that on the bootcamp. We will go there. So this is just for you to get familiar and confident with the editor and the config bar, and appreciate that you can't break anything. You know, you can always go back, and that covers our day. Let me show you. I talked about saving. This one is undo. You can see there I've taken off the shadow and the rounded corners, which I quite like, so I'll pop them back in again. Boom, boom, pop shadow, boom. Okay. This one here, restore previous saved version if you saved. There's the 5 times that I saved with a timestamp. So if I want to go back, I can look at a little preview. Opens in a new window, just a preview. Actually, let's go back to this one here. Yep, goes back to this. That's the point I saved it. I go, yep, I want to go back to that. I would click on restore, and it would restore that back to me. Let's do it. Boom. There it is, done. Couldn't have done that if I didn't save. Now I'm thinking, oh, I didn't want to do that. Actually, no, I like what I had. Well, that's all right, because we can go back to this one up here. Restore it. Only because I saved it. So save. Okay, that is more than enough. You've probably followed me through. In fact, what you've probably done is sort of followed me through and sort of gone off at tangents, left, right, and centre. Brilliant. You can't get it wrong. We haven't launched anything. You can't do it. You know, if I clear this page, it will just clear the page. Boom. Yep. That's all right. Oop, didn't mean to do that. Restore. You can't mess up, particularly if you're saving often enough. So play. Simple as that. And then what we're going to do tomorrow is, once you've got your 2 pages, because you know how to create a blank page, and you know how to rename it, you know how to edit it to create your thank you page, you'll have your 2 pages. Tomorrow, what we're going to do is launch it. And to do that, we need to be able to hook into a platform called Stripe, stripe.com. If you haven't got an account, pop over to stripe.com and create yourself an account. T4S.site ties in with Stripe. It's incredibly popular and widely used. It ties in very tightly with Stripe to allow you to take online payments. And we will hook that up to the button, and we will get you accepting money. We'll look at test modes and live modes, and we'll do it. And you know, by this time tomorrow, you will have a two-step funnel launched and taking money. Awesome.